Have you ever felt like the world values you just because of your last name and not you? I'm Eleanor Sterling, and at 27, I thought I had it all. The designer wardrobe, the Ivy League degree, the flawless life every Sterling woman was trained for. But behind the marble floors and charity galas, my family hid something far darker: control disguised as love. When I opened my boutique, I believed it was finally my moment. Instead, it was the trap they'd set to break me. 6 months later, at my parents' grand anniversary gala, I stood in front of hundreds, holding proof of their betrayal, ready to destroy the Sterling facade. But I wasn't ready for what happened next. Before I tell you how I exposed the truth and what it cost me, tell me where you're watching from. And if you've ever felt trapped by family expectations, hit like and subscribe. This story might be exactly what you need. For as long as I can remember, growing up as Elara Beaumont meant never, ever questioning privilege. Our sprawling Georgian estate in New Canaan, Connecticut, wasn't just a house. It was a monument. A monument to old money, sure, but mostly to new ambition. My father, Richard Beaumont, had taken his grandfather's modest local investment firm and transformed it into Horizon Financial Group, a powerful investment banking empire with clients spanning the globe. My mother, Eleanor, was the architect of our social ascension. She orchestrated our family's rise through the elite echelons of society, with the precision of a military general planning a full-scale invasion. From the antique Steinway grand piano that dominated our sunroom, on which I learned to play Chopin by age 6, not 7, 6, to the polished marble-floored foyer where generations of East Coast elite had mingled during my parents' legendary holiday soirees. Every single corner of our home screamed wealth, power, and above all, status. I mastered proper table settings by 8, could navigate complex social hierarchies before middle school, understanding precisely which families held the real power, who was merely new money, and who you absolutely, under no circumstances, spoke to without prior vetting. Posture, Elara, my mother would whisper, her manicured finger pressing firmly between my shoulder blades during charity galas. Beaumont women never slouch. They carry themselves with the weight of their legacy. My closet, it didn't just bulge. It overflowed with custom-tailored designer pieces that required their own climate-controlled section. My bathroom counters displayed French skincare products in meticulous, neat rows, each bottle positioned just so. And my calendar? It was a meticulously crafted schedule of equestrian lessons, where I rode only the most pedigreed show jumpers, etiquette classes that covered everything from the proper way to hold a teacup to the subtle art of dismissing someone politely, and volunteer work that conveniently, always photographed exceptionally well for the society pages. It wasn't about the cause, it was about the optics. Always the optics. My younger sister, Chloe, who is 5 years my junior, followed my path with an eager, almost heartbreaking determination. She watched my every move with wide-eyed admiration, collecting my literal cast-offs. Not just clothes, but even old-school projects or notes I'd discarded. And mimicking my speech patterns, my gestures, even the way I'd hold a glass of water. "Teach me how to do that smoky eye, Elara," she'd beg, perched on my bathroom counter, her voice barely a whisper. "Mom says I'll never have your natural elegance, but I can try, right?" That casual cruelty typified our mother, complimenting me while subtly undermining Chloe, then reversing the dynamic the very next day. We weren't sisters in the traditional sense. We were competitors. More than siblings, we were rivals constantly being pitted against each other. Though beneath our designer armor, beneath the polished exteriors, we shared the battlefield wounds of being Eleanor Beaumont's daughters. Mother's best friend, Genevieve Dubois, served as her unofficial lieutenant. Genevieve was a sharp-eyed socialite whose family's shipping fortune bought her the ultimate freedom, the freedom to police everyone else's behavior. She hovered around me at events, a shadow with perfectly coiffed hair, noting my drink choices, my conversation partners, everything, for later, detailed reports to my mother. "Elara, darling," she'd purr, appearing at my elbow during fundraisers, her voice saccharine sweet. "That young man you were speaking with, his family owns those discount tire shops, don't they? How diverse your interests are becoming." The implication was clear. I was straying, and Genevieve was the watchful eye. Until age 26, I performed flawlessly. Ivy League undergraduate, top-tier business school MBA, and a preordained position at my father's company, Horizon Financial Group, awaited me. I had the right friends, dated only acceptable men from equally good families, and maintained the precise weight that mother deemed elegant, without ever crossing into concerning territory. My life was a meticulously planned itinerary, every step pre-approved. Then I committed the unforgivable sin. I wanted something of my own. An art gallery, my father had repeated, peering over his reading glasses at my meticulously prepared business plan. Elara were investment bankers, financial strategists, not shopkeepers. I tried to explain. It's high-end art curation, Dad. I've identified a significant market gap for emerging contemporary artists in the New Canaan area. The location on Elm Street is perfect, and the financial projections are solid. He interrupted me, already returning to his newspaper. I'll fund your little project, Elara. Consider it an expensive lesson in why you should stick to what you know. He said it with a dismissive wave of his hand, like swatting away a fly. For 3 glorious months, Aura Gallery thrived. The minimalist space, with its carefully curated local art installations and soft, inviting Italian lighting, attracted art critics, interior designers, and a surprising number of genuine art enthusiasts. My business partner, Bethany Croft, handled the operational side, the day-to-day logistics and supplier relations, while I managed creative direction, artist relationships, and client engagement. It felt like I was finally breathing, building something that truly resonated with me. Then came the call from our accountant. His voice was clipped, strained. The accounts are empty, Miss Beaumont, and there are outstanding orders to vendors totaling nearly $300,000. Bethany Croft had vanished, leaving behind falsified records, a trail of devastated artists, and a mountain of unpaid bills. The subsequent investigation revealed she'd done this twice before, under different names, in different states. The local newspaper, the New Canaan Chronicle, ran the story on page 6, splashed across the society section. Beaumont heiress duped in gallery scheme. Mother's society friends whispered behind designer fans at charity events, their eyes alight with a mixture of pity and barely concealed schadenfreude. Father's business associates offered sympathetic noises, while exchanging knowing glances, a silent agreement passing between them. She's not as sharp as we thought. My parents' reaction was swift, merciless, and brutally public. Your irresponsibility has embarrassed this family, Elara, Father thundered during a family dinner, his face a mottled red. Did you perform even basic due diligence on this woman? This is Horizon Financial Group's reputation at stake. Richard, your blood pressure, Mother cautioned, her voice a low murmur before turning her eyes, ice-cold and utterly devoid of warmth, directly to me. Elara, your father trusted you with family money. Your recklessness reflects poorly on our judgment. Within weeks, they reclaimed my apartment, which was technically owned by Horizon Financial Group, canceled all my credit cards, and relegated me to a cramped, unused guest room in the family mansion. My sleek new Mercedes-Benz, a gift for graduating business school, disappeared from the garage, replaced by a 10-year-old Honda Civic that Mother called transportation appropriate for someone learning financial responsibility. Every single family gathering, every carefully planned social event, became an opportunity to reference my failure. Every business success by distant cousins, even those who were clearly less accomplished, warranted pointed observations about people who understand their limitations. The Beaumont name had weathered scandals before, certainly. Great-Uncle Bartholomew's notorious gambling problem, Father's messy first divorce. Those had been whispers, quickly contained. But my business failure, my public vulnerability, became uniquely unforgivable. It was a stain they couldn't simply polish away. 6 months of purgatory followed. I applied for positions at various art houses and galleries, even publishing firms, only to discover that my family's influence, which had once opened doors with effortless grace, now closed them with the impenetrable clang of a vault. I existed in a limbo of shame. My once vibrant designer wardrobe gathered dust as I wore increasingly shabby, appropriate clothes, selected and approved by Mother. The worst part wasn't the material deprivation or even the public social humiliation, though those were certainly painful. It was watching my identity dissolve. The confident, educated woman with dreams of curating beautiful spaces became a cautionary tale, a punchline at country club lunches, The family disappointment trotted out as evidence that even Beaumont women, supposedly impervious, could fall. The intervention happened on a Tuesday evening in April. I entered the formal living room, the air thick with tension, to find father ensconced in his massive leather armchair, mother perched meticulously beside him on the sofa, and a stranger in an unremarkable gray suit standing by the fireplace, as if waiting for a cue. "Sit down, Elara," father instructed, his complexion alarmingly red. Mother immediately placed her hand on his, a theatrical gesture designed to remind everyone of his delicate heart condition. "Your father and I have reached a decision regarding your future," Mother began, her voice carrying the false warmth she reserved exclusively for firing household staff or addressing unwanted solicitors. "This situation, Elara, simply cannot continue." I tried to defend myself. "I've applied for 37 positions. I've tallied the rejections, many of them from companies with obvious Horizon Financial Group connections." Mother interrupted, her voice gaining a sharp edge. "And you have demonstrated your complete inability to function independently. We've found a solution." Father cleared his throat, a deep rumbling sound. "Theodore Albright has been our family's attorney for decades. His associate's son, Marcus Thorne, is seeking a wife. He's willing to overlook your recent difficulties." The stranger stepped forward then, and I realized with a sickening lurch that he wasn't some business associate, some consultant waiting to offer advice. He was the solution. They'd arranged him. "Marcus Thorne," he introduced himself, extending a hand that I, horrified, refused to take. He was of average height, with plain features, medium brown hair styled in no particular way. His suit looked like it came directly from a department store rack, nothing bespoke. His watch was distinctly non-luxury, a simple stainless steel. "This is absurd," I laughed, the sound hollow, waiting for the punchline, for the reveal that this was some elaborate, cruel joke. "I'm not marrying a stranger because of one business setback." "This isn't a negotiation, Elara," Mother stated flatly, her eyes like chips of ice. "You will marry Marcus, who has generously agreed to this arrangement, despite your circumstances. In return, you will receive a modest apartment and an entry-level position at your father's company. It's more than you deserve, frankly." "And if I refuse this medieval arrangement?" Father's jaw tightened. "Then you will leave this house with nothing but your personal belongings. No connections, no references, no financial support. Your choice." "Your father's heart can't take much more stress, Elara," Mother added, her tone heavy with implicit blame, placing all the responsibility for father's health squarely on my shoulders. I fled the room, seeking refuge in Chloe's bedroom. My 23-year-old sister sat cross-legged on her bed, her expression confirming what I already knew. She knew. They've been planning this for weeks, she admitted, twisting her graduation ring nervously on her finger. "It's not about punishing you anymore, Audrey. It's about controlling the narrative." "What does that mean?" I demanded, my voice raw. "If you marry this guy and take a humble position at Horizon, they can tell everyone it's a redemption story. The wild daughter who learned her lesson and embraced responsibility by marrying some random lawyer's son. Who even is this person?" Chloe shrugged, her shoulders slumping. "Some financial consultant at a small firm. Dad's lawyer says he's steady and responsible. Mom likes that he's forgettable. He won't outshine their perfect family image, but he's respectable enough." The word forgettable stung more than almost anything else. 3 days later, I met Marcus for an arranged dinner at a mid-tier restaurant, a place my mother wouldn't even consider for a casual lunch. He arrived in a Honda Civic, remarkably similar to my own recently downgraded vehicle, wearing the exact same unremarkable suit from our first encounter. His apartment, which he insisted on showing me after dinner, occupied the 3rd floor of a converted brownstone in a gentrifying neighborhood just outside the city. It was furnished functionally, minimally decorated, and there was a small standard bookshelf holding a modest collection of classic novels. Nothing about it suggested passion, ambition, or even a basic personality. It was beige in every possible sense. "I understand this isn't ideal," he said, watching me catalog his painfully ordinary life, his gaze surprisingly calm. "But I think we could build something functional." "Functional," I repeated, the word tasting like ash in my mouth. "That's your pitch for an arranged marriage? Not even a pretense of romance or compatibility?" He shrugged, completely unperturbed by my barely concealed hostility. Would you prefer I lie? We're both entering this arrangement for practical reasons. What exactly are your practical reasons for marrying a stranger? I demanded, before he could answer. His phone buzzed. Excuse me, he said, stepping into what appeared to be a home office and quietly closing the door. His muffled voice for a brief moment sounded different, more authoritative, as he conducted what seemed like a high-stakes business call. A flicker of something, curiosity perhaps, ignited within me. In desperation, I arranged a secret meeting with Julian Carter, my ex-boyfriend from business school. We had dated for 2 years before amicably parting when he took a position in Chicago. He had recently returned to the area 6 months earlier, reaching out several times before and after my gallery's collapse. We met at a quiet bar, miles away from my parents' usual social circles. Julian looked as polished as ever in his custom suit, his luxury watch glinting as he stirred his Manhattan. This arranged marriage is insane, Elara, he agreed, after I explained my impossible situation. Your parents can't seriously expect you to go through with it. They've given me no choice, I whispered, my voice strained. They're using Dad's heart condition as emotional blackmail. Julian hesitated, swirling his drink, the ice clinking softly. What if there was another option? What if you had a different husband candidate, someone your parents already approved of, before all this happened? My heart stuttered with sudden fragile hope. Julian, would you do that for me? His expression shifted, becoming oddly formal, almost calculating. Look, I've always cared about you, Elara, and the Beaumont connections would be valuable for my career trajectory. We were good together once, weren't we? Maybe this situation is an opportunity, for both of us. The calculated assessment in his eyes, the lack of genuine warmth, told me everything I needed to know. Not, I love you, I want to save you. But the Beaumont connections would be valuable. This situation is an opportunity. I left Julian at the bar and walked 6 blocks in designer heels that pinched with each agonizing step. The realization crystallized with every stride. My value in the eyes of everyone who mattered had always been my family name, my connections, my perceived status. Without those, even former lovers, people who supposedly cared, saw me as damaged goods. Potentially worth acquiring, yes, but only at a significant discount. The final crushing blow came during my wedding dress fitting. Mother had selected an appropriately subdued ivory sheath. Nothing too princess-like or attention-grabbing, certainly nothing that would imply joy. The thorn boy is making a sacrifice, accepting you with your history, she remarked, instructing the seamstress to take in the waist. This match is where you belong now. Be grateful anyone would take you. I caught my reflection in the 3-way mirror, a trapped woman in a sensible dress, about to enter a sensible marriage, fading already into appropriate insignificance. My wedding day dawned with picture-perfect weather, blue skies, and warm sunshine that felt like a cosmic joke, a cruel mockery of my internal storm. Mother had orchestrated a tastefully modest ceremony in our estate garden, significantly scaled down from the society extravaganza she'd once planned for me. Nothing too ostentatious, given the circumstances, she'd told the wedding planner, loud enough for me to hear. We're focusing on family values and new beginnings. I moved through the morning in a detached haze. The makeup artist skillfully concealed my sleepless eyes. The hairstylist arranged my dark hair in a conservative updo, pinned tightly at the nape of my neck. The ivory sheath hung on my frame, its simplicity emphasizing how far I'd fallen from the couture-wearing socialite I'd once been. You look appropriate, Mother assessed, adjusting my pearl necklace, her idea of suitable jewelry for my diminished status. Remember to smile for the photographs, Elara. Everyone knows this isn't the wedding we planned, but appearances matter. Father walked me down the aisle with a firm grip on my arm that felt more restraining than supportive. 50 guests, trimmed ruthlessly from the original 300, watched my procession with expressions ranging from thinly veiled pity to barely concealed schadenfreude. Genevieve Dubois dabbed theatrical tears from the corner of her eye, while whispering conspiratorially to her seatmate. My Ivy League roommate, Anya, declined her invitation, citing a scheduling conflict that didn't prevent her from posting tropical vacation photos that very same weekend. Even our family pastor's homily included thinly veiled references to humility and accepting one's station in life. Marcus waited at the altar, looking surprisingly composed in a suit only marginally better than his everyday attire. When I reached him, he squeezed my hand gently. It was the first genuine human contact I'd felt in months. A small, unexpected anchor in the surreal scene. "Just breathe," he whispered, his calm presence momentarily steadying me. The reception passed in a blur of condescending well wishes and backhanded compliments. "Marriage will mature you, dear," announced Mother's cousin Harriet, patting my cheek with a patronizing air. "Some women simply aren't meant for business." "The Thorn boy seems steady," offered Father's golf partner, Mr. Henderson, emphasizing the word as one might describe a reliable but unexciting dishwasher. I noticed Marcus's guests then, only 5 people, who clustered together at their assigned table, apart from the main Beaumont contingent. Unlike our society friends in their flashy designer outfits and glittering family heirlooms, Marcus's guests wore simple but high-quality clothing and observed the proceedings with curious, intelligent eyes. A striking woman in her 50s, with silver-streaked dark hair, caught me watching and raised her champagne flute in a private toast that somehow felt more authentic, more genuine than all the flowery, empty speeches combined. Our wedding gifts, as expected, reflected my new, diminished status: practical kitchen appliances, modest home decor, and a conspicuous absence of the luxury items that had populated my sister Chloe's wedding registry 2 years earlier. Mother's centerpiece gift, presented with dramatic flourish during the toasts, was a deed to a starter apartment in a developing area and employment contracts for positions at Horizon Financial Group. "Entry-level positions suitable for your capabilities," Father explained, emphasizing my demotion with a smirk. "Marcus in financial services and you in administrative support." We departed in Marcus's Honda, rather than the vintage Rolls-Royce that had carried my cousin Sophia at her wedding. No exotic honeymoon awaited us, just a quiet weekend at a bed and breakfast in the Berkshires before Monday's inevitable return to our assigned, humble roles in the Horizon financial empire. The apartment, our generous wedding gift, occupied the 3rd floor of a converted factory building in a neighborhood undergoing very gradual gentrification. 2 bedrooms, a functional but cramped kitchen, views of a brick wall and the dumpsters downstairs, and furniture Mother had selected for its aggressively inoffensive blandness. The master bedroom featured twin beds, pushed together but clearly separate. "When you're ready," Mother had delicately phrased it, the implication of my undesirability hanging in the air. "Home sweet home," Marcus commented, without a trace of irony, setting down our minimal luggage in the postage stamp living room. "This isn't a home," I retorted, surveying the beige wasteland around us. "It's a holding cell." The next morning, I faced my new reality, learning to operate a coffee maker, something I'd never needed before because someone had always made my coffee. Figuring out which cleaning products addressed which surfaces, a completely foreign concept. Discovering to my utter dismay that groceries didn't magically appear in refrigerators. Marcus observed my domestic floundering with surprising patience and almost detached curiosity. "I can show you how to make a basic meal plan and grocery list," he offered, after finding me staring blankly into our perpetually empty refrigerator, utterly bewildered. "Why aren't you more upset about this?" I demanded, gesturing around our modest, uninspiring surroundings. "You've been forced to marry a stranger, someone your family clearly views as damaged goods, and live in this place." "I've lived with less," he replied simply, his gaze steady, unwavering, "and nobody forced me. I agreed to this arrangement." That mysterious statement hung between us, a silent challenge as we established our awkward coexistence. Marcus left early each morning for his financial consultant position, returning in the evenings to find me struggling with my administrative role at Horizon Financial Group. It was a job involving endless coffee fetching for executives, mind-numbing filing, and deciphering archaic accounting software, tasks that any competent high school graduate could perform with ease. "Your reports need to be filed by client name, Miss Beaumont, not by date," my supervisor, a woman named Beverly who had been at Horizon for decades, instructed with barely concealed satisfaction at directing a Beaumont. "Your father expects all employees to follow standard procedures." Weekends developed their own peculiar rhythm. Marcus often disappeared for business meetings that seemed suspiciously excessive for his supposedly junior position. He maintained a locked home office, a small room at the back of the apartment, where he took private calls in a voice that somehow carried more authority, more gravitas than his supposed role warranted. My curiosity, once dormant under the weight of my humiliation, grew alongside my suspicion. Why would this unassuming man, who seemed to genuinely embody the word forgettable, agree to marry a disgraced socialite? What happened during those clandestine weekend meetings? Why did he sometimes receive plain brown packages, innocuous looking, but always secured immediately within his office? 1 month into our strange arrangement, our forced marriage, Chloe visited unexpectedly. She brought a bottle of decent housewarming wine and, much more importantly, genuine sisterly concern. "This place isn't actually terrible," she assessed, exploring our apartment with interest, far more genuinely than Mother's barely concealed disgust during her own obligatory, fleeting visit a week prior. "It has character. It has popcorn ceilings and plumbing issues," I corrected, pouring generous, perhaps overly generous glasses of Cabernet. "Marcus seems nice," she ventured cautiously, her eyes on him as he moved around the kitchen. "Not at all what I expected." "What did you expect?" I scoffed. "Someone desperate or weird? He's neither." She hesitated, then surprising me. "He actually reminds me of Dad, before all the success, focused, observant, quietly confident." The comparison hung in the air, oddly unsettling, yet also intriguing. That evening, Marcus returned with takeout from an excellent Thai restaurant, the kind of place that definitely shouldn't have fit our modest budget. When I questioned the expense, he merely shrugged it off. Life's too short for bad pad Thai. The three of us assembled a cheap flat-pack bookshelf together. It was a project that unexpectedly revealed Marcus's methodical nature and, even more surprisingly, an unexpected dry humor. When the shelf collapsed due to my misaligned screws, his deadpan, "I believe that's what structural engineers call an epic fail," startled a genuine laugh from me, my first in months. A real, unforced laugh that surprised even myself. After Chloe left, Marcus and I shared a moment of unexpected companionship over fortune cookies and coffee. "Thank you for being kind to my sister," I said, surprising myself with the sincerity in my voice. "She's caught in the middle of all this, just like I was." "Chloe sees you more clearly than your parents do," he replied, breaking open his cookie. "She values your strength." "What strength?" I scoffed, picking at my own cookie. "I'm living in an arranged marriage in an apartment my mother furnished with reject items from our summer house." Marcus studied me with unexpected intensity, his gaze piercing. "The strength it takes to survive when everything you identified with is stripped away. Many people would have broken." Something shifted between us that night. Not romance, not yet, but perhaps the very beginning of respect. I still slept in my separate twin bed. I still wondered about his mysterious phone calls. I still resented my circumstances. But for the first time, I began to see Marcus Thorne as a person, rather than simply a punishment. 6 months into our arrangement, our accidental marriage, I awoke at midnight to find Marcus's side of the room empty. This wasn't unusual. His mysterious work calls often pulled him from bed. But tonight, a deep fatigue from a particularly humiliating day at Horizon Financial Group, a day filled with petty errands and veiled condescension, overrode my usual respect for his privacy. I followed the muted sound of his voice to his home office, expecting, as always, to find the door locked. Tonight, however, the knob turned under my hand. The room I entered bore absolutely no resemblance to the modest apartment surrounding it. 3 large, high-resolution monitors displayed complex financial data, graphs I didn't understand but instinctively recognized as high-level. A Bloomberg terminal, equipment costing tens of thousands of dollars, occupied one corner. The bookshelf I'd assumed held classic novels actually contained thick, dense volumes on economics, high finance, and global strategy, knowledge far beyond entry level. And there was Marcus, speaking confidently into a headset, manipulating figures on one screen with practiced ease. "The Singapore acquisition needs to close before market opens, Wilson. Have legal prepare the final documents for my signature. Leo can handle the press statement. Standard language about strategic expansion and synergies." He turned then, noticing me frozen in the doorway, caught completely off guard. He smoothly concluded his call. "I'll address the remaining items tomorrow. Good night." For a long, tense moment, we stared at each other. Me in my faded pajamas, hair a mess. Him in a crisp dress shirt and tailored slacks that definitely weren't from the department store. The silence stretched, filled only by the hum of the computers. "You're not a junior financial consultant," I stated flatly, the words barely a whisper. No, he agreed, calmly removing his headset. I'm not. Then who exactly did I marry? Marcus gestured to the chair opposite his desk. As I sat, my mind reeling, he opened a drawer and removed a business magazine, dated 2 years earlier. He placed it before me, cover down, open to a feature article titled The Invisible Billionaire, Viridian Capital's Mysterious CEO. The article detailed Viridian Capital, a multi-billion-dollar private equity firm, known for its audacious strategic acquisitions and groundbreaking technological innovation. Its CEO, notorious for avoiding photographs and public appearances, had built the company from nothing into a global powerhouse within a decade. Your MT? I whispered, recognizing the initials attributed to Viridian's elusive leader. Marcus Thorne, he confirmed, his voice now devoid of any pretense, CEO and founder of Viridian Capital. Current net worth, approximately $5.5 billion. My mind raced through fragmented business news I'd dismissed over the years. Rumors about the reclusive billionaire whose investment strategies consistently outperformed even the most established firms. Speculation about his identity. Theories about why someone so incredibly successful avoided publicity, avoided the limelight. The pieces clicked into place, forming a dizzying, unbelievable picture. Why, the deception, I finally managed, my voice hoarse. Why agree to marry me? Why live like this when you could have... I gestured wildly at our modest surroundings, the beige holding cell. I value privacy and authenticity, Marcus explained, suddenly more animated than I'd ever seen him, a subtle passion entering his voice. My background isn't privileged. I grew up in a working-class neighborhood outside Chicago, put myself through state college, and built Viridian through sheer insight and persistence. The wealthier I became, the more I saw how money changes how people interact with you. Everyone wants something from you: access, funding, connection, status. I decided early on to live modestly and keep my identity private, to maintain genuine relationships and perspective. But why marry me? I asked, a terrible suspicion forming. Was this some bizarre social experiment? His expression sobered, a hint of vulnerability crossing his face. I knew your family through business channels. When Mr. Albright approached me about this arrangement, I recognized an opportunity to assess the Beaumonts firsthand, before finalizing certain significant business decisions that would impact them. Fury rose in my chest, hot and sharp. So I was corporate due diligence? A way to get inside information on my family's business? Initially, he admitted, his gaze steady. Yes, but then something else happened. I saw someone whose identity had been defined entirely by external markers: family name, social position, material possessions. When those were stripped away, when your world crumbled, I witnessed your struggle, your painful, desperate struggle to redefine yourself, to find who Elara was without the Beaumont name. It was compelling. My trauma was compelling? I asked, bitterness lacing my words. My humiliation was an interesting case study? Your resilience was inspiring, he corrected softly, his eyes holding mine. And I saw something your family couldn't or wouldn't, that your business failure wasn't due to incompetence. It was sabotage. That stopped me cold. Every ounce of anger, of accusation drained away, replaced by a chilling realization. What are you talking about? Marcus tapped a few keys, bringing up documents on his center monitor. Bethany Croft, 3 previous identities, all with remarkably similar schemes. Establishing trust, securing investment, embezzling funds, disappearing. He paused, letting the words sink in. Your mother's foundation, the Eleanor Beaumont Charitable Trust, made a substantial, untraceable donation to a shell nonprofit connected directly to Bethany 2 weeks before she approached you about the partnership. That's circumstantial, perhaps, but... That's circumstantial, I protested, though my heart raced with a terrible, growing suspicion. Perhaps, but this isn't. He displayed banking records on another screen, showing a complex series of transfers between accounts created specifically by my mother, funneling through offshore accounts. Your mother created the conditions for your failure, Elara. She ensured you'd fall. Then she positioned herself and your father as the wise, benevolent protectors, picking up the pieces. The room seemed to tilt. 6 months of shame, self-recrimination, and crushing self-doubt collapsed under this horrifying new information. Why? I whispered, the word barely audible. Why would she do that? Control, Marcus said simply, his voice firm. Your gallery was succeeding. You were establishing independence, building your own network, separate from Beaumont connections. For someone like your mother, who defines herself entirely through controlling others, that threatened the entire family dynamic. It threatened her ultimate authority. I pressed my fingers against my temples, trying to process this unthinkable betrayal. And you've known this how long? I suspected before our arrangement, Marcus confessed, his expression softening with unexpected vulnerability. I confirmed it 3 months ago. Why not tell me immediately? I demanded, my voice rising. Because you needed to find your own strength first, Elara, he replied, his gaze unwavering. Because information without the power to act on it just creates deeper wounds. It would have paralyzed you. And now, I asked, the question hanging in the air. Now what am I supposed to do with this knowledge? That, he said quietly, his eyes holding mine, depends on what you want. Revenge? Reconciliation? Escape? Something else entirely. The question hung between us truly. It was the first time in my adult life someone had asked me what I wanted, without presuming to already know the answer. I want justice, I finally said, the words feeling foreign yet utterly right. And I want my life back. Not the shallow existence my parents defined for me, but something authentic, something truly mine. Marcus nodded slowly, a subtle shift in his demeanor. I can help with that, if you let me. Why would you help me? I asked, still suspicious, still wary. What do you get out of this? His gaze held mine steadily, a flicker of something undefinable in his deep-set eyes. A partner, someone who sees me for who I am, rather than what I own. Someone who understands both worlds, the privileged and the humble, and chooses reality over illusion. That, I observed, a small tentative smile touching my lips, sounds suspiciously like a real marriage. Maybe it could be, he suggested, a hint of uncertainty in his voice that humanized the billionaire CEO more than anything else could have. We could start over. No arrangements, no deceptions, no expectations, except honesty. That night, for the very first time, we pushed the twin beds together, not for physical intimacy, not yet, but to lie facing each other in the darkness, dismantling our false personas and offering genuine truths instead. Marcus described growing up with a single mother who cleaned houses, how scholarships barely covered tuition, the complex algorithm he developed in his dorm room that eventually became the foundation of Viridian Capital. I shared my childhood of conditional love, the suffocating expectations, moments of rebellion swiftly punished, and the genuine passion for art and design that my parents had so ruthlessly dismissed as frivolous. I never wanted their financial empire, I confessed, my voice barely a whisper. I wanted to create something beautiful and functional, something that was entirely my own. You still can, Marcus replied, his voice a quiet certainty in the darkness. And I can help you clear your name in the process. In the morning light, we faced each other, not as arranged spouses, but as allies, with a common shared purpose. Marcus extended his hand formally, his eyes twinkling with unexpected mischief. Partners? He asked. I took his hand, feeling something like hope unfurl for the first time in nearly a year. Partners. Our partnership began with education. Marcus cleared his schedule for 2 intense weeks, transforming our modest living room into a veritable financial war room. Whiteboards appeared on the walls, covered with complex flowcharts and figures. Dossiers replaced decorative books on the shelves, and takeout containers from Boston's finest, most discreet restaurants fueled our strategic sessions. The first step, Marcus explained, his voice patient but firm, is understanding exactly what happened with your gallery. Not your mother's version, not the media narrative, but the actual financial and legal facts. He introduced me to Dr. Isabella Vance, the silver-haired woman from our wedding, whom he introduced as Viridian Capital's chief strategic officer and his longtime mentor. She brought decades of corporate intelligence experience to our planning sessions. Your gallery's business model was actually quite sound, Elara, Isabella noted, reviewing my meticulously prepared original projections. Her voice was calm, utterly professional. Your inventory selection showed remarkable intuition for emerging artists who've since gained significant prominence. With proper backing, you'd have been profitable within 18 months, probably sooner. That validation, professional and objective, healed something within me I hadn't realized was still raw. My business hadn't failed because of my incompetence, but because of deliberate, malicious sabotage. Marcus guided me through complex financial concepts, patiently explaining market dynamics, investment strategies, and the intricacies of private equity. I absorbed everything, fueled by a fierce, burning determination to reclaim my narrative, to prove them all wrong. "You have excellent instincts," he observed, after I correctly identified weaknesses in a sample business proposal he'd given me to analyze. "You just lack the technical knowledge and practical experience, gaps anyone could fill with proper education and mentorship." Isabella's assignments built my confidence, brick by brick, analyzing intricate financial statements, identifying subtle manipulation tactics, recognizing patterns in corporate communications. Each successfully completed task replaced another brick in the foundation of self-worth my parents had systematically dismantled. Our investigation into Bethany Croft revealed her to be a professional con artist who specialized in targeting wealthy families. Her previous identities, Bethany Coleman, Brenda Carter, Beatrice Cross, all followed identical patterns, establishing trust, securing investment in what seemed like legitimate ventures, then disappearing with the funds. She never should have passed basic due diligence, Marcus noted, displaying her multiple fraud convictions under various aliases. "Someone deliberately concealed these red flags during your vetting process. That someone, we discovered, was Victor Albright, my father's closest business associate, a man who had been a shadowy presence in our lives for decades. And most damningly, the man who had helpfully recommended Bethany to me for my gallery partnership. Victor has been your father's fixer for decades, Elara," Isabella explained. "When Horizon Financial Group needs problems solved discreetly, Victor handles the details. Richard prefers not to know the specifics." Marcus's team uncovered a complex web of offshore accounts, linking Victor to both Bethany and to suspicious transactions flowing from my mother's personal foundation. "Your mother funded the operation through her charity," Marcus explained, displaying the money trail, meticulously detailed. "Victor identified and recruited Bethany, then ensured she passed her background checks, that all her previous frauds were obscured. They created the perfect storm to ensure your business would fail spectacularly enough to justify your parents' inevitable intervention." Each revelation hardened my resolve. These weren't impulsive actions born of frustration. This was a calculated, cold-blooded campaign to destroy my independence. Why go to such lengths? I wondered aloud during one strategy session, the question echoing in the quiet room. Why not simply refuse to fund my gallery in the first place? "Because this accomplished multiple objectives, Elara," Isabella explained, her voice calm and analytical. "It publicly discredited your business judgment, creating the perception that you needed protection. It justified their draconian controlling measures over your personal and professional choices, and it reinforced their narrative that Beaumont's success comes only through the established family channels." Marcus nodded. "Control through humiliation is exceptionally effective. They ensured you would question your own capabilities so thoroughly that their solution, marriage to a supposedly modest financial consultant, would seem like merciful rescue rather than calculated punishment. The perfect opportunity for revelation presented itself when Mother's assistant called. Her voice clipped with a command performance. "Mr. and Mrs. Beaumont request your presence at their 40th anniversary celebration. Black tie, 7 o'clock, the grand ballroom at the Astor." After ending the call, I turned to Marcus with the first genuine smile I'd worn in months. "I believe we've just received our invitation to the perfect stage." Marcus immediately began arranging the strategic elements, discreetly inviting key Viridian Capital executives and a few trusted business journalists who specialized in investigative pieces. Securing digital access to the venue's audiovisual systems, a crucial detail, and meticulously compiling all the evidence into a presentation that would be impossible to dismiss, impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, I focused on psychological preparation with Isabella's expert guidance. I practiced maintaining composure under extreme pressure, delivering key messages clearly, and anticipating my parents' likely countermoves. "They'll attempt to discredit you emotionally first, Elara," Isabella warned during a simulation, playing the role of mother with unnerving accuracy. "They'll paint you as unstable, ungrateful, or delusional. You must remain absolutely factual and composed." Marcus's friend, Leo Maxwell, Viridian's security chief, train me to recognize and counter manipulation tactics. Your mother will try interrupting to break your rhythm, he explained. Your father will likely employ his health as a shield. Anticipate these moves and prepare specific, calm responses. While our professional preparation advanced rapidly, my personal transformation progressed more gradually, but just as profoundly. Marcus suggested shopping for an appropriate gala outfit, offering his black card without restrictions. Buy whatever makes you feel powerful, he said simply. Instead of returning to my former designer boutiques, the ones Mother frequented, I visited a small atelier owned by Olivia Rossi, a talented designer I'd befriended before my downfall. She was one of the very few who hadn't abandoned me after the scandal. Elara, she exclaimed, embracing me warmly, her eyes wide with surprise. I've been trying to reach you for months. Your mother's assistant always says you are unavailable. This crushing revelation that Mother had actively blocked my remaining friendships, carefully isolating me, added yet another layer to their manipulative tactics. Olivia, understanding instinctively what I needed, created a stunning gown in deep crimson, not the subdued palette Mother would expect. It had architectural lines that communicated strength and determination, rather than decorative femininity. This isn't just a dress, Elara, Olivia noted during the final fitting, her voice soft but firm. It's armor. 2 weeks before the gala, Marcus suggested I reconnect with Chloe, knowing I'd need at least one family ally, however passive, in that room. Your sister has been watching you more closely than you realize, he observed. She visits your old gallery location monthly, as if paying respects. I invited Chloe for coffee at a neutral location, far from parental surveillance. She arrived looking simultaneously polished in her Beaumont-approved wardrobe, and utterly exhausted beneath her perfect makeup. Mom's been impossible since you left, she confided, her voice a strained whisper. Without you to focus on, all her controlling energy redirected to me. Last week she replaced my entire wardrobe because my selections were becoming eccentric. Chloe, I began carefully, steeling myself. There's something you need to know about my business failure. Her expression stopped me cold. That it wasn't really your fault? That Mom and Dad orchestrated it? Her eyes were wide, filled with a knowledge I never thought she'd possess. I've suspected for months. My shock must have shown, because she continued in a rushed whisper. I overheard Victor and Dad arguing about payment to the Croft woman. Then I found old pictures of Bethany with different hair and names in Mother's foundation files when I was helping organize their charity gala database. Why didn't you tell me? My eyes filled with tears, a mix of anguish and relief. By the time I put it all together, you were already married and gone, she replied, her own eyes brimming. Mother monitors my calls and visits. I've been waiting for a chance to talk to you alone. We spent hours strategizing her role in our plan. Not as an active participant, which would make her vulnerable to our parents' retaliation, but as a neutral witness, positioned to observe everything, to be seen. The night before the gala, Marcus and I conducted our final preparation, evidence meticulously compiled, presentations loaded, contingencies planned for every imaginable scenario. Are you absolutely certain you want to do this, Elara? Marcus asked, as we reviewed our timeline one last time. Once this is set in motion, there's no going back. Your relationship with your parents may never recover. I considered his question seriously, weighing the comfort of continued submission against the profound liberating cost of never reclaiming my truth. What relationship would I be preserving, Marcus? I finally answered, my voice firm. One built on control and conditional love? One that required me to completely disappear for them to exist? That's not worth saving. I want relationships based on truth and mutual respect, even if that means having fewer of them. Marcus nodded, then hesitated before reaching for my hand across the small table. Whatever happens tomorrow, he said softly, his thumb tracing circles on my skin. I want you to know something. This arrangement began as a business decision, but somewhere along the way, it became the most meaningful partnership I've ever experienced. You've shown more courage and integrity than anyone I've known. In the quiet of our bedroom, with the twin beds now permanently replaced by a king-size mattress we'd selected together, I realized the ultimate irony. My parents' desperate, calculated attempt to diminish me through an arranged marriage had instead connected me with the first person who truly saw and valued me beyond my family name or social position. Tomorrow we take back my narrative, I whispered as we drifted toward sleep. And then we start writing a new story, one that belongs entirely to us. The Astor Ballroom, transformed under Mother's exacting supervision, stood as a glittering monument to Beaumont's success and longevity. White orchids, hundreds of them, and crystal installations created an atmosphere of pristine luxury. Photographs chronicling Richard and Eleanor's 40-year marriage, carefully curated to emphasize their social ascension and carefully omit any missteps, adorned illuminated displays. Marcus and I arrived deliberately 15 minutes late in his previously concealed Bentley, ensuring maximum visibility as we entered. My crimson gown drew immediate, stunned attention among the sea of safe black dresses and conservative jewel tones worn by the Beaumont women. Marcus, no longer hiding behind unremarkable suits, wore a perfectly tailored tuxedo that subtly, undeniably communicated wealth, power, and quiet confidence. Mother spotted us immediately. Her practiced, welcoming smile faltered just for a split second as she registered my unauthorized color choice and my unexpected aura of confidence. She approached with father in tow, his florid complexion suggesting more than a few pre-event cocktails. "Elara, Marcus," she greeted coolly, her voice a little too sharp. "How striking you look tonight." "Congratulations on 40 years, Marcus replied smoothly, extending a thick, formal envelope. "We've made a donation to the Children's Hospital in your honor." Mother accepted the envelope, her eyebrows rising slightly at the substantial amount visible through the windowed paper. "How generous, Marcus. Your consulting must be going exceptionally well." "You could say I've found my niche, Eleanor," he replied with deliberate understatement, using her first name, a subtle but significant power play. Father assessed Marcus with narrowed, assessing eyes, noticing the subtle details he'd previously overlooked. The hand-stitched tuxedo, the limited edition watch glinting at his wrist, the quiet confidence that couldn't be purchased or fabricated. "Horizon Financial Group must be paying junior staff better than I realized," he commented, fishing for information. "Actually, Richard," Marcus responded, using my father's first name for the very first time, his voice calm and even. "I've found alternative employment that better utilizes my capabilities." Before father could probe further, mother interjected, her voice suddenly unnaturally bright. "Do circulate, dears. So many people are eager to see how you're adapting." As they moved to greet other guests, Marcus whispered, his lips barely moving, "Your mother just activated the Society Brigade. Incoming judgment in 3, 2, 1. On cue." And on cue, Genevieve Dubois materialized beside us, her diamond choker glittering like an expensive predatory collar. "Elara, darling, how brave of you to wear such a bold color in your position. And Marcus, you've acquired a more cosmopolitan appearance since the wedding." "Learning to dress for success, actually, Genevieve," I replied, with practiced calm, my voice steady. "Marcus has been teaching me a great deal about authentic success versus mere appearance. It's been quite illuminating." We navigated the room strategically, Marcus introducing me to colleagues who were actually Viridian Capital executives and board members. The reactions from my parents' circle shifted from condescension to utter confusion as these apparently influential, serious figures treated me with marked respect. "Elara has remarkable insight into consumer behavior and market positioning," Marcus told the bewildered chairman of New Canaan's largest private bank, who looked like he'd swallowed a lemon. "Her analysis recently guided one of our most successful acquisitions." Across the room, I spotted Bethany Croft, my embezzling former partner, in animated conversation with Mother. Her presence, clearly orchestrated to unsettle me, instead confirmed unequivocally the coordinated effort behind my downfall. I approached them directly, interrupting their conversation with deliberate poise. "Bethany, what a surprise to see you here." She faltered, visibly unprepared for my composure, her eyes darting nervously. "Elara, I heard you'd step back from fashion temporarily." "Only temporarily, yes," I replied, maintaining unwavering eye contact until she finally looked away, completely rattled. "Though I've been deeply involved in investigating financial irregularities in the industry, Bethany. Fascinating patterns emerge when you have the right data." Mother intervened swiftly, her smile tight. "Bethany was just telling me about her new venture. Such innovation." "Oh, I'm sure she has extensive experience with new identities and ventures," I agreed pleasantly. my voice still utterly calm, though proper background checks do complicate the process, don't they? I left them visibly unsettled, the color draining from Mother's face, and rejoined Marcus as he chatted with Leo Maxwell, who gave an almost imperceptible nod, confirming our technical preparations were complete. Chloe found us moments later, elegant in a navy blue gown, with subtle rebellion glinting in her statement earrings. Everything is proceeding according to Mother's minute-by-minute schedule. Toast begin in 20 minutes, starting with Father's business partner, Victor. Perfect timing, Marcus murmured, guiding us toward a quiet corner where Isabella and Olivia waited with final confirmations. All evidence files loaded and ready, Isabella reported, her eyes sharp. Leo has secured the audiovisual system and disabled any override capabilities. Olivia squeezed my hand, a silent cheer passing between us. The fashion blogs already have photos of you arriving, Elara. Comments are trending positively on your comeback style. Whatever happens tonight, the visual narrative is already shifting. As scheduled, the orchestra's volume decreased, as Father's associate, Victor Albright, tapped his crystal flute for attention. His toast, flowery and false, praised the Beaumont family values of integrity and excellence, while pointedly noting the challenges that strengthen family bonds. 3 additional speakers followed with similar platitudes, each speech reinforcing the carefully constructed Beaumont mythology. Mother beamed appropriately, accepting congratulations with practiced humility. Guests nodded at the familiar narrative of deserved success and exemplary character. Following the official program, Mother approached the microphone for her scripted moment of gratitude. Dressed in ice blue couture that had required 3 international fittings, she embodied calculated perfection. Richard and I are deeply moved by your presence tonight, she began, her voice modulated for maximum emotional effect. Family has always been our foundation, the core value that guided our marriage and business through 40 extraordinary years. She continued with practiced vulnerability. Like any family, we've weathered challenges. We've supported each other through difficulties. We've demonstrated that with proper guidance, even setbacks become opportunities for growth and realignment with core values. Her gaze found me in the crowd, her message unmistakable. My setback had been appropriately managed through their intervention. And now, she concluded with theatrical warmth, her eyes gleaming, we invite our daughter, Elara, to offer a few words. Scattered applause acknowledged Mother's magnanimous inclusion of her fallen daughter. The spotlight found me. With Marcus's reassuring presence beside me, I approached the stage with measured confidence. Taking the microphone, I surveyed the assembled crowd. The society friends who had abandoned me, the business associates who had blocked my employment opportunities, the family members who had accepted my parents' narrative without question. Thank you, Mother, for this opportunity to address everyone on your special night, I began with practiced calm, my voice clear and steady. Tonight, we celebrate a 40-year partnership between Richard and Eleanor Beaumont, a partnership that, as we've heard repeatedly tonight, is built on family values, integrity, and unwavering support. Mother nodded approvingly from her seat, anticipating the beautiful brief congratulations she had scripted for me. These values were impressed upon me throughout my childhood, I continued. Integrity above all, family supporting family, the Beaumont name representing excellence and ethical conduct. I paused, allowing anticipation to build. A subtle shift in the air, then I shifted direction. Which is why I found it so educational to discover what happens when those values conflict with the desire for control. Mother's smile froze. Father straightened in his chair, his face losing its color. A ripple went through the crowd. 1 year ago, I continued, my voice gaining strength. I opened a gallery featuring emerging artists. The business model was sound, the location ideal, and initial reception enthusiastic. Then my business partner, Bethany Croft, emptied our accounts and disappeared with our capital. Murmurs ripped through the crowd as I gestured toward Bethany, who had been standing near Mother. Bethany, seeing my gaze, edged frantically toward the exit, only to find Leo Maxwell casually, subtly blocking her path. What I didn't know then, what I've only recently discovered, I said, my voice resonating through the shocked silence, is that Bethany Croft was not a random fraudster who targeted me. She was specifically recruited, vetted, and inserted into my business by individuals determined to ensure my venture would fail. The ballroom screens activated simultaneously, bathing the room in a cold, stark light. The first image displayed was banking records linking Mother's foundation to Bethany's offshore accounts. These financial transactions show payments from the Elara Beaumont Charitable Trust to shell companies controlled by Bethany Croft, payments made shortly before she approached me about partnership, and again immediately after she embezzled our funds. Gasps and whispers intensified as I advanced through meticulously organized evidence, emails between Victor Albright and Bethany discussing the Beaumont daughter situation, Mother's explicit instructions regarding the timing of the embezzlement, and Father's undeniable knowledge of the entire plan to teach Elara necessary lessons about independence. This orchestrated business failure served multiple purposes, I explained. Maintaining the professional tone Marcus and Isabella had helped me perfect. It publicly discredited my judgment. It justified unprecedented control over my personal and professional choices, and it culminated in an arranged marriage designed to remove me from public view, while maintaining family appearances. Mother stood abruptly, her face contorted with rage. This is preposterous. Elara has clearly been manipulated by whom, Mother? I interrupted calmly, turning my full attention to her. By my husband, the supposedly modest financial consultant you selected, precisely because he seemed controllable and grateful for Beaumont connections. I gestured toward Marcus, who approached the stage with characteristic composure, a quiet force of nature. Allow me to properly introduce my husband. The screen shifted to display a professional yet discreet photograph of Marcus. This is Marcus Thorne, founder and CEO of Viridian Capital. Current valuation, $5.5 billion. The next slides displayed news articles about Viridian's founder, investment performance metrics that had consistently outpaced even the most established firms on Wall Street, and Marcus's estimated personal net worth, significantly exceeding the entire Beaumont family fortune. The stunned silence that followed was broken by Genevieve Dubois' audible, horrified, "Good God!" from the front table. Marcus agreed to our arranged marriage for his own reasons, I continued, addressing the now bewildered audience. Reasons that evolved from strategic business intelligence to something neither of us anticipated. Authentic partnership, based on mutual respect and shared values. The actual family values my parents espoused, but failed to practice. Father rose, now face alarmingly red, almost purple. This public display is unconscionable. My heart condition is being monitored by 2 cardiologists on Viridian Capital's board who are present tonight. Your health concerns are noted and addressed, Richard, Marcus interjected smoothly, joining me at the microphone, though they seem remarkably situational in their appearance. Mother attempted to reach the stage, her composure finally cracking, but the presentation continued relentlessly. A digital avalanche of truth. Evidence of Victor Albright's coordination with Bethany. Documentation of my parents' systematic isolation tactics. Communications revealing their orchestration of my social and professional rejection. The Beaumont reputation for business excellence remains well-deserved, I acknowledged, my voice firm. My parents built an extraordinary company through vision and persistence. What remains in question, however, is the character that accompanied that success. The willingness to destroy their daughter's reputation and confidence to maintain control. The final slides displayed my original gallery business plan alongside professional assessments from top art consultants, confirming its viability, market potential, and sound financial modeling. I stand before you tonight, I concluded, my gaze sweeping over the silent, shocked faces, not seeking sympathy or revenge, but simply reclaiming my narrative. My business didn't fail because of my incompetence. It failed because my independence threatened a family dynamic built on control rather than support. As I concluded, Marcus's executives strategically engaged key business leaders throughout the room, distributing carefully prepared summaries of Viridian Capital's findings. Art and business journalists discreetly recorded statements from Bethany Croft, who, now facing potential fraud charges, began implicating Victor Albright in exchange for potential immunity. Mother finally reached the stage, her carefully maintained composure gone, tears streaming down her face. How dare you hijack our anniversary celebration for this performance, after everything we've done for you, the sacrifices. The only sacrifice was my autonomy, Mother, I interrupted quietly, my voice unwavering, and it wasn't given, it was taken. Through deliberate manipulation and orchestrated humiliation. Father joined her, breathing heavily, but without the theatrical clutching of his chest that typically accompanied family confrontations. This relationship can be repaired, Elara, but not without significant atonement on your part. This public spectacle is simply truth, supported by evidence, Marcus interjected, his voice calm, resonating through the stunned silence. A concept that should resonate with a family that claims to value integrity above all. As security discreetly, firmly removed a now hysterical Bethany Croft from the premises, business leaders and society figures alike began to process the undeniable evidence presented. The Beaumont mythology of perfect family unity had crumbled, replaced by documented manipulation that couldn't be dismissed as a daughter's emotional allegations. Chloe approached the stage, positioning herself deliberately beside me rather than our parents. This visual statement, the younger Beaumont daughter aligning with the truth rather than family fiction, delivered the final blow to Mother's carefully constructed narrative. The dynasty built on appearance over substance faced its reckoning, not through scandalous headlines or whispered rumors, but through the methodical, undeniable exposure of its own documented actions. As Marcus and I departed the ballroom, leaving behind the debris of a shattered family mythology, he leaned close to whisper, his voice soft. This isn't the end, Elara. It's the beginning of something authentic. For the first time in my adult life, I faced an unscripted future and found myself utterly unafraid. The Sunday morning following the gala, the New Canaan Society pages struggled, comically, to diplomatically cover what was already being called the Beaumont Revelation. Headlines ranged from the tactful 40th anniversary gala takes unexpected turn, to the more direct Beaumont family business practices questioned after Eris's presentation. Marcus monitored the coverage with professional detachment, sorting reports into categories for Viridian Capital's legal team's review. The narrative is splitting along predictable lines, he observed over breakfast in our modest apartment, our last day there before moving to his actual residence. Older establishment figures are attempting damage control for your parents, while business publications are focusing on the documented evidence, and the art blogs, darling, are treating it as a true redemption story. The unfairly maligned designer, vindicated. Mother must be apoplectic about losing control of the narrative, I mused, scanning industry newsletters that had already picked up the story of Bethany Croft's fraud scheme and my parents' involvement. The most immediate aftermath was professional. Father's company, Horizon Financial Group, faced multiple inquiries from regulatory bodies regarding Victor Albright's documented activities and his deep ties to the company. 3 board members requested emergency meetings to discuss succession planning, which was corporate code for leadership replacement. Mother's carefully cultivated social standing suffered immediate, irreparable damage, with 2 major charity boards requesting her temporary step back. While addressing family matters, my phone vibrated with a text from Chloe. Parents in crisis mode, Dad actually yelling. Mom broke her favorite Ming vase. Can we meet? Need escape plan. Marcus and I met her at a quiet cafe far from Beaumont territory. My sister arrived looking simultaneously terrified and exhilarated. The house is unbearable, she reported, her eyes wide. Mother is cycling between icy fury and tactical sobbing. Father's locked himself in his study with the family attorneys. Genevieve Dubois sent a message postponing their summer plans, which Mother interpreted as total abandonment. Are you safe there? I asked, concerned about her bearing the brunt of their displaced rage. Physically, yes, she shrugged. Emotionally, they're too focused on damage control to bother with me. Though Mother did deliver a 20-minute monologue about familial betrayal when I declined to call you delusional on the record. By week's end, Marcus had helped Chloe secure her own apartment and a position at a respected architectural firm in New York City, her actual passion, which our parents had dismissed as impractical compared to the Horizon Financial Group track they'd planned for her. Meanwhile, Marcus and I transitioned to our authentic life together. His actual residence, a stunning penthouse overlooking the New York harbor, reflected his true personality far more than the modest apartment he'd endured during our arrangement. I've owned this place for 5 years, but rarely spent time here, he explained, as we entered the spacious, light-filled space, the city sparkling below us. Too empty with just me. It needed the right person to make it feel like home. The penthouse, like Marcus himself, balanced understated luxury with genuine comfort. Custom bookshelves housed his actual collection: philosophy, economics, architecture, and surprisingly vintage science fiction. The kitchen featured professional-grade equipment that quickly revealed his hidden culinary skills. His office, no longer needing concealment, showcased the command center from which he directed his global investments. "You maintain the deception flawlessly," I noted, exploring rooms that revealed more about my husband in minutes than I'd learned in our first months together. "No wonder Viridian Capital's competitors can't anticipate your moves. I've spent years perfecting professional privacy," he acknowledged. "What I never mastered was personal connection, until you." Our personal evolution mirrored our changing external circumstances. The marriage that began as a calculated business arrangement developed authentic dimensions neither of us had anticipated. Mutual respect evolved into genuine affection, partnership deepened into trust, and shared goals created a foundation stronger than any society match could have provided. 3 weeks after the gala, my parents' attorney contacted us with a proposed reconciliation agreement. It was essentially a contract establishing conditions for family reunification, complete with mutual non-disclosure provisions and scheduled appearances at key social events. "They're still attempting to control the narrative," Marcus observed, as we reviewed the thick document together. "Notice how it frames everything as misunderstandings rather than deliberate actions." I declined the agreement with a simple, clear response. Reconciliation begins with accountability, not contractual appearances. I remain open to honest conversation when they're ready for authenticity over image. My professional rehabilitation proceeded even more positively. With Marcus's strategic guidance and Isabella's meticulous mentorship, I developed a business plan for a revised gallery concept, one built on sustainable art practices, ethical sourcing, and an emerging artist incubator program. "Your original model was sound, Elara," Isabella confirmed during our planning session. "With proper financial structure and experienced operational support, there's no reason this venture shouldn't succeed." Viridian Capital provided initial funding as a proper business investment, rather than a family obligation. Marcus insisted on standard due diligence and return expectations because, as he put it, "You don't need charity or favors, Elara. Your concept deserves legitimate backing." Olivia Rossi joined as creative director, bringing her design expertise and invaluable industry connections. We secured a location 3 blocks from my original gallery, a symbolic reclamation of territory I'd been forced to abandon. 4 months after the gala revelation, we held a small, intimate launch event for Aura Gallery 2.0. Art editors, industry buyers, and selected clients attended, the air buzzing with positive energy. There were notable absences, of course. My parents declined their invitations with formal regrets, citing unforeseen prior engagements. Genevieve Dubois and her social circle conveniently had prior commitments as well. Their absence, strangely, highlighted the most significant aftermath of all: the necessity of rebuilding life with chosen connections, rather than obligatory ones. Some relationships simply couldn't survive truth-telling, and perhaps were never meant to. My twice-weekly therapy sessions with Dr. Harrington, who specialized in family trauma and identity reclamation, helped me process this difficult reality. She guided me through the grief for the family I thought I had, and the acceptance of the family that actually existed. "Your parents' capacity for relationship may always be conditional, Elara," she observed during one particularly difficult session. "That doesn't diminish your worth or your right to authenticity." 6 months after the revelation, Marcus and I faced the question that had hovered unspoken between us. What did we want from our accidental marriage now that its original premise had evaporated? Over dinner at our now favorite neighborhood restaurant, a cozy, unpretentious place we discovered during our modest life, that we continued patronizing despite having access to New York's most exclusive establishments, Marcus proposed a solution. "I've been thinking about our unusual beginning," he said, reaching for my hand across the table. "We started with contracts and arrangements, rather than choice and emotion. What if we reset completely?" From his pocket, he produced not an ostentatious diamond, but a simple, elegant band of meteorite and gold, intricately woven. This marriage began as a business decision that evolved into something authentic and unexpected. I'd like to choose it properly this time. Choose you, not for appearances or advantages, but because you've become essential to my life, because you see me and I see you, the real you. 2 months later, we held a private ceremony on the rooftop garden of our penthouse. 20 guests, true friends and chosen family, Chloe stood beside me, flourishing in her new independence and genuine passion for sustainable architecture. Olivia adjusted my simple gown, her original design created specifically for this authentic celebration, not a staged performance. Isabella Vance and Leo Maxwell represented Marcus's chosen family, the loyal colleagues who had known his true identity when the world saw only what he allowed them to see. My parents attended, a tentative first step toward whatever relationship might be possible. Their presence came without conditions or expectations. Their seating was with the regular guests, rather than special family positioning. Mother approached during the reception, her carefully neutral expression masking whatever emotions churned beneath. The ceremony was tasteful, she offered, the closest approximation to approval she could manage. The dress suits you. Thank you for coming, I replied simply. It matters that you're here. Father maintained greater distance, though he eventually approached Marcus with what appeared to be genuine curiosity about Viridian Capital's sustainable investment initiatives. A conversation about actual business, rather than appearances or control. 1 year after the gala revelation that transformed our lives, Marcus and I created our own anniversary tradition. A quiet dinner where we exchanged private truths, rather than public performances. I never expected happiness from our arrangement, I admitted, sharing vulnerabilities that were still difficult to voice. At best, I hoped for tolerable coexistence. Finding genuine partnership seemed impossible. I planned for a strategic alliance and temporary inconvenience, Marcus confessed, his hand finding mine across the table. I never anticipated needing someone, or allowing myself to be truly known. The modest apartment where we began our strange journey became Chloe's first independent home, our wedding gift to her, a space where she could define herself beyond Beaumont expectations. Aura Gallery 2.0 flourished, expanding to include a robust artist incubator program, supporting emerging talent with both financial backing and business education. My relationship with my parents evolved into something neither wholly estranged nor falsely reconciled, a careful navigation of boundaries and limited engagement, based on their capacity for authentic connection rather than controlled performance. Most significantly, the woman who entered an arranged marriage, believing herself fundamentally flawed and deserving of punishment, discovered a different, profound truth. That authentic strength comes not from perfect performance, but from honest self-knowledge and the courage to live truthfully. The parents who arranged my marriage to humble me inadvertently connected me with the person who most clearly saw my value. The man they chose to diminish me instead became my strongest advocate and partner. The humble circumstances meant to teach me my place, instead taught me that genuine worth transcends external markers of success. Perhaps that's the ultimate lesson worth sharing. Sometimes, the very circumstances designed to break us become the foundation for rebuilding something authentic and unbreakable. Have you ever discovered unexpected strength in what initially seemed like your lowest moment? Has someone else's attempt to control you eventually led to an unexpected freedom, a new path you never imagined? Share your story in the comments below, and if this tale of finding authenticity resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about transformation and resilience. Thank you for joining me on this journey. May you find the courage to claim your own authentic narrative, whatever unexpected forms it might take.